Welcome to episode 23 of YOUx2, where we're on an adventure, getting to know the two of us that are living this human experience, this character that we're playing on the planet, and the actor behind this character, a powerful, supernatural, eternal spirit being made of unconditional love. Hi everyone, it's your brother Zen, and I'm a wake-up artist. My passion is helping us remember who we really are and our connection that we can have with the creator of all things. In the last episode, I introduced the next section of what we're talking about here, which is what we've learned and what I've specifically learned about having a broken heart. Getting to know the two of us here on the planet, to understand that side of our human experience is so important because it does open us up to a higher connection once we get to the root of what's going on with that brokenheartedness that we experience. This will be the first episode that I'm kind of talking about a little bit of my own drama from the past. So we're going to call this Act 1. Because most of you that watch my videos are very empathic, where you feel people's emotions, I'm going to create like a bubble around me, a little containment field for my emotions that you won't have to feel any of those, and you can remain just like an observer through this. And I'm also intending that the only emotions that will come up for you as you watch this video are going to be those that Spirit wants to come into your view. So just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and we're just going to invite Spirit to come in. Guard our hearts, only bringing in those emotions that you want us to look into and come into our purview today. We appreciate you and we thank you. We love you. I wasn't sure which scene of brokenheartedness that we were going to start with, because of course broken hearts happen in so many different ways in our lives. So, and of course all of them have their own little juiciness too. So what I did, I wrote down a lot of the subjects that were coming to mind from my own experiences on note cards, and I let Spirit decide. So I shuffled them up and one came flying out, and I was like, okay, I guess that's the one we're starting with, which is going to be on the subject of being bullied. And if emotions are triggered during this video, what I would recommend is just pushing the pause button, taking some deep breaths, surround yourself with unconditional love and light, and then once your emotions come down to a calm, comfortable level, then I would continue with the video. So as we're going through this, I'm going to share, how I am embracing the little child self of my own and kind of going through that process too. So we'll take little breaks as we go through it to do that. As I mentioned in episode 22, or the episode before this one, the purpose of bringing these experiences up is not to place blame or to make people feel guilty about what they did or did not do when we were younger. This is all for our little child self to bring it some comfort and some relief, because those people that back then are not the same people they were decades ago as they are today anyway. But our little one, the little child self, doesn't live in the present. It lives back in the past with all those charged emotions. And as I mentioned also in that last episode, in this book I'm reading called The Presence Process by Michael Brown, it talks about that what we're experiencing now, like emotions that we experience today, aren't really the emotions that we're experiencing. They're more of the effect of a cause from back in the day. It just echoes forward to where we're experiencing those emotions in the present day. The little example that I read in a different book about that our little child selves, it's like we're having one of those little carrying things on our back. We can't see the child, our little inner child, but we can feel the weight of the child. And they are looking over our shoulder, seeing everything that we're doing, but we don't see them, at that time. So if we don't go back and look and face those things, that little 7-year-old or earlier child self of ours is sending messengers and messengers and messengers, trying to get our attention all these effects that keep on coming in, all these emotions that get triggered by all these messengers that come into our lives. Kind of look at it like if you have something wrong with your body, you have like, I have an ache and all I'm doing is taking medicine to take care of the ache, but I never deal with the cause. All I'm doing is exerting a lot of emotional energy into maintaining this emotion that I'm feeling over and over again instead of going back to the cause of it. So that's the intent of why we're going to be going into these dramatic stories. So what spiked my internal journey into looking into that bulliedness that happened earlier in my life was that it was like I got all these messengers coming in from all different directions of people who were in this victim role, or I was perceiving that they were being victimized. And it spawned these fears, it spawned these uncomfortable emotions coming up. And at first I thought it was, oh my gosh, it's because I'm not going to be able to help them. I feel like I'm not going to be the hero in the little drama story, and I'm not going to be able to stop the villains and let them down. And so those emotions were what I thought were on the surface. But the presence process that I mentioned really is a great awareness book, because it talked about, we'll try to figure things out with our mind, which we will. We look back at, like all the effects. I look at, okay, this is why I feel this way. I do self-reflection. I understand human sociology and how fear works and how people interact. All that our mind tries to figure out how to deal with the effects that are influencing, those waves of emotions that are coming from the past. We learn how to deal with the waves, right? But what I love about the book is it says not to try to figure it out with your mind. Don't try to, figure out the entire universe, right? It's like you sit with the emotion and go, how am I feeling? And when I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling that victimization emotion that's going on. I just would think about, when's the last time I felt that? And when's the last time I felt that? And when's the last time I felt that? And then you just keep going back until eventually you do reach your earlier childhood, the cause of when you first felt those emotions. And then that's what reverberates forward. And that's when I realized, oh, this is about me being a victim when I felt victimized. So as I went back and kept going back, I saw all the situations where I felt things were happening to me and I felt out of control and I was being treated unfairly. And that's what takes us into getting back into my earlier years, where we'll start talking about, I'm not going to go through my entire life. I'm going to start with the ones that Spirit really wanted me to talk about. And that's where we're going to start with scene 1. I got back to age 13, 14 when I was going to middle school in San Antonio, Texas. And we had moved around quite a bit, which so I was a new kid coming into the school, which usually doesn't fare too well if you have been a new kid coming into a school, because, the cliques are already formed, everyone has their friends and all of that. And so you kind of come in as this outsider, and it usually attracts bullies to you because you're you're not from around here, are you? Kind of feeling like the old West, right? And also, it seems that, the other outsiders that were there, they're ones that say, welcome, come, we'll be your friend. And then they also, all that outsidedness energy together draws them in even more. And when you watch those teenage movies where, little people are thrown up against lockers, it really does happen. And it did happen to me in that. Luckily, I had learned very quickly in other schools, in other states, as I experienced being bullied in a variety of schools, to be hyper aware of who's coming down the hall, what's going on around you, to keep you from that. So that particular being thrown up against lockers only happened a few times at that middle school. But my little 7-year-old did send all these other messengers to me, and that did get quite interesting. We had a two-story middle school, and one day as I was heading off to a class upstairs, I started up the staircase, and I felt something hit me. And so I looked up, and there was the usual suspects up there that you would usually pick on me and other people, and they had spit, and so there was some spit going down my face, and of course, being on a crowded middle school stairway, as they laughed and busted out laughing, everyone saw what happened. And of course, some people just scurried away. The others, of course, bursted out into laughter, which of course was humiliating to that little, 13, 14-year-old that I was. So that was one of the interesting experiences that literally into my face. Lunch hour, of course, was a very stressful time because there weren't very many teachers around. So it was open season for the bullied to do their stuff. And one time that stood out to me particularly is a jock grabbed my lunch and took off with it. And I had like the brown baggie in it. I didn't do like the cafeteria tray. So he grabbed that and took off with it. And I, for some reason, took off after him. And I ran and was following him and chasing him. And he ran down these hallways and across the gym and out the back and behind these buildings. And, in hindsight, I was like, duh, that's not very smart. Let him have the lunch. Because that could have ended out very badly for me, being alone, with him out, away from everyone. But I finally caught up to him, and he couldn't get in like a door, like the door was locked from the inside. And so he just turned around, dropped my lunch, smashed it several times, said something really degrading. I can't remember specifically what it is. I just knew it was a little normal, talking about what a piece of poop, you are or whatever. And then just walked away, which I'm grateful now that it's all that he did. There was one day where I asked to wear my dad's it was like, I think he wore it like when he was in high school. It was like a white windbreaker that he had that was his. And I had found it in the closet, and I actually was big enough then where it felt, fit pretty well. And I was like, I asked my mom if I could wear it, and she said, yeah, just be very, very careful. And yeah, foreshadowing, right? So I went and to school, and then out of the blue, just a bully just was attracted to me. He came over and he just grabbed my arm and jerked it, and it just ripped out, underneath the arm thing there. And he kind of stopped because I think he saw the fear that came in my eyes, a fear that was even greater than the fear of him, right? Of like, oh my God, I just ripped my dad's jacket. I'm going to be in real big trouble. And I told him that, and he just kind of walked away. And which, of course, that kind of reinforced my victimhood going forward, because I'm like, oh, if I really let that victimhood show, I can avoid being picked on, right? So it kind of reinforced that. But that was another scene that happened through all of that. And I want to interject here that I know that bullies are acting out of their own anger and their own feelings of fear and being out of control, usually at home or outside of, those situations. That's the only way that they can, act out and feel in control and feel safe in some environment. And so, I've actually had friends who, when I shared with them I was bullied before, they were like, I bullied others. And when I think I shared like a Facebook post or something regarding about how bullies feel, and they were like, yes, absolutely. They spoke up and they felt horrible about how they acted out, to other people, but they definitely affirmed that what they were experiencing at home was making them feel out of control. They were being abused or bullied at home. And so that was their way of feeling safe, and outside of that situation. And in this particular situation that I just talked about with the sack lunch, with that particular bully, he did a couple things throughout, my middle school. But I came across him later when I was grocery shopping with my mom after I think I was going to high school at our church's school. So I wasn't going to public school anymore at that point. But this was back in the olden days when they would bag your groceries and then take them to your car and help you load them into your car. And even though I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the bully. He was the one that was packing up my mom's groceries. And I was like, I wanted just to take the cart and just leave him there, but they insisted that he take out, so I had to walk along, and he was loading it all into my cart, and he just kept glancing at me. And I don't know if he thought I was going to be like, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to really look down on him degradingly and evil eye and, say something to my mom about, you don't know what he used to do to me, blah, 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 get the revenge that we look for, revenge of the nerds, right? But because, like so many of you, I have strong empathic abilities, I was feeling his emotions of guilt, his emotions of where he was at in his life, of his pain and everything else. So rather than being able to do all that other stuff that I wanted to do, instead, I felt compassion for him. I know, ugh. But we are reflecting on, through this process, the emotions that the little one felt. So not trying to explain away, why you shouldn't feel bad, why they were doing what they were doing, and there's an explanation of why this was coming at you. This is for our little child to feel those feelings unconditionally, to feel that acceptance unconditionally, and to have that just unconditional attention that we just pick up our little child. In fact, that's what I want to do right now. If you'll just join with me and just take a deep breath. If you like, picture a young, whatever age of your child self, usually 7 years old or younger, and just pick them up and just hold on to them. Just let them feel what they're feeling, and just give them just love without explanation, without needing to understand anything. Just hold the space for them, full of unconditional love. Doesn't it feel just so perfect? At that same school, PE time was like one of, I think, the most scariest places, because that was the jocks' kingdom. And of course, being new and again, being an outsider, I was always one of the last ones picked, if not the last one picked, for teams whenever we did team stuff. And if that wasn't humiliating and emotionally difficult as it was, on one particular day, we were playing soccer. And because I was least liked on the team, they made me play to help guard the goalie in the back. And so I was back there hanging out, just, getting ready to protect if they came. And here comes one of the, again, one of the usual suspect jocks coming down. And they were coming down the middle of the field, and I was off to the side a little bit. And he went out of his way to make the ball go this way, stepped away from the ball, and racked me right in my nuts. And I fell down in such pain. And the coach came running over, and he was, "You all right?" And, I'm like, he did this on purpose. And of course, because he happened to be on the football team, and that was one of the football coaches, and he knew who he was like, "Just don't do that again." That's all that he got with that. But I, of course, had to go home, and I was in pain because I had PE at the end of the day. So by the time I got home, it was just still hurting. I told my mom what had happened. And of course, I had to go through the embarrassing thing. Here I am, 13 years old. I had to show my mom my balls. And then it was so bruised already. And then my mom took me to the doctor. And of course, then I had to have the doctor take a look at my private parts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing and humiliating. in so many, many ways. And I was mainly picked on physically by, the boys of the school. But there was one time that I was picked on and kind of bullied in a way emotionally from some girls who happened, of course, be the girlfriends of some of the jocks. And so one day I came to my locker and I opened it up and there's this little note inside. And I opened it up and it said how I thought you were cute and I really like you and blah, blah. And I couldn't finish reading the note before I heard laughter about 20 feet away. And I looked and there they were, the little group of girls, and they were just laughing at me and pointing at me. And then they walked away. And I was like, I really could, if you've ever seen the movie Carrie, where, they embarrassed her on top, in front of the school with the blood, pig's blood coming down on her and destroying her beautiful dress and making her think that she was liked and everything, I could really relate to Carrie that day. And I was like, it's a good thing I don't have supernatural powers back then where I could, do things to people out of anger and all that emotion, that fearful emotion that was coming up, because I probably could have done some really bad things. And we lived far enough away from our house going to school where I took the bus, to and from school. And in the beginning, the bus was like, okay, finally, I made it through the day. And, the bus ride home was like the decompression time. Well, that was until we developed a little separate group of people on the bus from the rich kids' neighborhood that we would go to first and come back towards our neighborhood, that used to pick on me in their own unique, special ways, where they would just grab something of mine when I wasn't looking and toss it out the window. So I lost so many pens and pencils and different things out the window that wasn't worth going back for. But one day they took my entire backpack and everything, took it from me and threw it all out the window. And so I had to wait for the bus to stop, got off there and walked all the way back to pick up my backpack and all that, and then walked home. But on the way walking home, I was like, this feels so good. This feels so free just to be away from all of that. And so I started walking home. It was like 2.5 miles home. And so I just stopped taking the bus. And I didn't tell my mom or anyone that I was doing it because I don't think it was allowed. So sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. If I've never told you that, sorry. But I would walk home. In fact, I started making it a game where I would rush and run home, and I would try to beat the bus back at the same time. And sometimes I actually beat it. And so I was standing there when the bus, drove by, and I, of course, loved the look on my nemesis's faces as they saw me, and they were upset that they weren't able to pick on me. We're about halfway through sharing the experiences that Spirit wanted me to share with you for the benefit of you, one, knowing that you are not alone in what you were going through growing up. And maybe this helps resonate and bring some of those emotions up for you to also vocalize. Because with also sharing these experiences, that allows my inner child to vocalize and share those things that had happened to help with the charged emotions that it has had. But I'm going to stop the video here because I don't want this to go on way too long. But if you want to check out the book that I'm reading, it's The Presence Process by Michael Brown. So you can check out some of the, different tools and stuff he gives you if you want to check that out until we have the next episode next week. And I'll link the book in the description box below too for convenience purposes. And if you want to continue also, looking back over your own emotions, looking back over those own echoes, going back, to that place, just allowing yourself to pick up your small child self, be the parent to the child that you didn't have, the one that gave you unconditional attention, unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. And just allow yourself to just be filled with that love as you go through all that. I love in the book too, it talks about how we, as our little child self, is like I mentioned, that they're on our back looking over our shoulder. It actually thinks of us as separate, our adult self separate from our child self. And it's been looking over our shoulder this whole time, seeing how we act. And if we haven't developed a relationship with them, it takes time for it to build trust. It takes time for us to build trust, for it to trust us, because it's been looking over our shoulder. It knows what we feel, what we think, and our actions. So if we've been saying, yeah, I'll do that and I'll do that and doing all this stuff while inside we're going, no, I don't want to do that, but we're not being authentic to ourselves, the little one inside of us is going, I don't know if I can trust you. I know. So the more we're authentic with ourselves too, the more time we spend with our little child self, the more it learns to trust us as well. So if you want to give that a try, enjoy that. In the next episode, we will continue on to Act 2 as we continue talking more about my bully drama in my life. But in the meantime, if you are looking for more messages of love from above, in addition to these videos, I also put out weekly energy updates for each of the zodiac signs, monthly readings for each of the zodiac signs, and a few other types of videos. So if you don't want to miss out on any of those and be notified immediately when it becomes available, if you click the like button, also click the subscribe button, and that'll give you access to the notification bell. And when you go in there, if you check on the all option, then you'll be notified of any new videos that come out on this channel. Also, doing those things helps spread the love, and it actually helps my channel grow in significant ways, because when you like a video or you share a video or you comment on a video, and especially subscribing to the channel, doing those things makes the YouTube algorithm so excited. Wants to share the videos of this channel with other people as well. So if you feel inspired to do any of those things, I am very, very grateful for that. Also, any of the readings that I do are general readings. If you're looking for specific information and answers for your specific life, I do offer personal readings, and all that information is listed in the description box below. Right, all you amazing people, as you go throughout this week, please know that you are unconditionally loved by the Creator of all things. And of course, I love you too. Have an amazing week. We'll be talking soon. In the meantime, you hang in there and you take care.